Hey everybody, welcome back to Connerty Meadows Farm. You can see behind me here is my little orchard, and between the apple trees that are just starting to bud out, I have Haskaps. Now don't mind my very funky hat. It's actually a lovely netted hat because it's black fly season here. Today there's a little bit of a breeze, so I may not actually need to put the hat on for the video, but in case you're wondering why I have a very strange hat on my head, it's a hat on top of a ball cap. One of the lovely things about living in Ontario, Canada, is that during this time of season, we get black flies. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to talking about Haskaps. Today I am going to replace a Haskap that died last season. And I was able to find one at our local hardware store called Canadian Tire. Walmart often will sell them, and a number of other garden centers and whatnot. So what is a Haskap? Haskaps are also known as honeyberries, and a lot of the Haskaps here in Canada are cultivated at the University of Saskatchewan. So Haskaps actually require a male and a female plant in order for them to produce fruit. But the nice thing about Haskaps, unlike a lot of plants that require a male and a female, is that both the male and the female produce fruit. Generally speaking, for like something like kiwi, for example, the male is just there to pollinate the female, and the male does not produce any fruit. It's kind of like the same thing on a squash plant or a pumpkin plant. There are two flowers. There's the male flower and the female flower, and the male flower is only there to pollinate the female flower and doesn't give you any fruit. Where Haskaps, both male and female will give you fruit. Now, for the Haskaps, the other thing you need to know is that there are many different varieties, and certain varieties pair better with varieties than others. There are early blooming varieties and later blooming varieties, and if you get two different varieties and one's early blooming and one's late blooming, they're not going to be able to cross-pollinate. So it's very important to look and see which ones go together. For example, there is a variety called Aurora and another variety called Borealis, and the two of those ones team up together. There is a kind called berry blue and a kind called tundra, and the two of those ones go together. So today I am putting a berry blue in because that's the kind that I lost. Now, generally speaking, you can have one male plant for 5 female plants. What I have done in my orchard, because they both produce fruit, is I've actually staggered female, male, female, male, or male, female, male, female through my whole orchard. So all of the little shrubs that you can see in the line here are all Haskap shrubs, all the way around through the orchard. And then here down this line as well. They're all Haskap shrubs. Garden kitty. That's Sylvester coming to help. So Haskaps actually bloom super early in the season. They will bloom before the strawberry. So they're a great source of feed for the bees, which is one of the reasons why we have them. The other reason why we have them is because they're just delicious. I think Haskaps taste like a mix of a blueberry and a raspberry squished together. Now, if you've never seen a Haskap, I have one here to plant, and it has a picture on it, so I can show you the picture. As of right now, we don't, oh my, look at this. We have a friend. Did you guys see that big bee? Yay, it's pollinating my plants, which is exactly what we want. Anyway, so I have a picture here to show you what a blueberry looks like compared to a Haskap. And a Haskap is basically, it looks like a blueberry that someone has taken and like stretched it like an elastic. This one I got at our local Canadian Tire. This was the kind that I needed. And you can see here, this is what it looks like an elongated kind of blueberry. I do have a blueberry bush I'm planting today as well. And you can see, so these guys are round and blue. These guys are elongated and blue. The other thing to keep in mind with Haskaps is people think as soon as they're blue, they're ready to eat. And then they'll have them and they think they're disgusting and sour and gross. Because with blueberries, they will go from green and they'll slowly start to change colors. Oftentimes they'll go green, reddy, and then the purple. Whereas Haskaps go purpley kind of right away. But Haskaps are not ready to eat until the inside has changed color. So the inside of them, once they start to go blue, will be white. And it's not until the inside of them goes blue that they're ready. So if they're all blue and you think they're ready, give the bush a shake. If they fall off, they're ripe. If they do not fall off when you shake the bush, they are not ready. That is the easiest test to see if they're ready and the best test to see if they're ready. If you have to physically pick them off, they're not ready to be eaten and they're going to be sour and not taste very good. Let's take a minute and talk about how I'm planting this Haskap. You can see here. So I have a weed barrier down and then I have the Haskap in and I have wool around them. Now, why do I have the wool? Haskap roots are very, very shallow. So they stay near the top of the surface. They don't go down really, really far. They want to stay near the top. So what happens when they stay near the top like this is while this weed barrier is wonderful for keeping weed back, what happens is they can overheat. And Haskaps, if you overheat the roots, they're going to die out. So the wool around them helps keep their roots cool and moist. Haskaps actually don't mind a little bit of wet feet. They actually thrive in it okay. They are not near as picky as blueberries that need you to change the acidity in your soil and all of that stuff. Haskaps are very good at kind of growing wherever you plant them. Apparently I'm not giving him enough attention. On average, Haskaps can be around 2 meters wide by 2 meters tall. So make sure when you're planting them, you give them the full space. I think I've planted them 3 to 4 feet apart just because that's the space that I had and I was able to do that all the way along. This wool is from our sheep when we shear them, and shearing doesn't hurt sheep. It's just like getting a haircut. They're just getting their hair cut off. And because we only have a handful of sheep, we can't take it anywhere and do anything with it. So this is a really great way for me to use up all of my extra wool. My hope is eventually to get wool around all of the base of all of the trees because it's really beneficial for all of them, especially here in Canada where we get really cold. So the wool will actually help keep the roots a little bit warmer in the wintertime, a little bit cooler in the summertime, and maintain some moisture. So if we're in a drought or whatever and I'm having to water these, this will help maintain the moisture in them much better. I have this berry blue. Let's go ahead and get it planted. Some of the things that we're gonna need for planting is the plant itself, some bone meal. I have this to kneel on. We are still pretty wet here, so I've got myself some gloves. I've got a trowel and I have a shovel there. I also have a blueberry to plant today, so I've got the stuff for the blueberry as well. If you want to see how to plant a blueberry, I do have a video for that, and I will link it above for you here so that you can see how to plant a blueberry plant and have it survive, because it does need different soil conditions.
The first thing we need to do is just move the wool to the side, and then I have to pull the clips up that are holding the tarp down. There is a number of them in there, and so I need to make sure that I get enough that I can fold the tarp back and get to the hole. So you can see I'm just moving the pins and moving the tarp aside. I'm going to go ahead and dig the hole now. You can see me pulling out some roots. I don't want these interfering with the plants I'm putting in, and I am putting all the soil into containers. I'm also measuring how big of the hole I need to put the plant in. I'm also going to add some bone meal into the hole.
So I like to layer up on my bone meal just because I want to make sure that I give it the best start that I can Now I'm gonna go ahead and let's get this out of the pot as soon as I get rid of a few more of these. So roll the pot in your hands to loosen it up a bit. Just makes it easier to take it out, and then push it up from the bottom so you start to see it pop out. Now what you see here is a lot of the roots, it's very root bound. We want to fix that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go in the bottom and we're just gonna carefully open this up. Gently open the root bed up. And then add a little bit more soil back in. We're gonna put it in, nice and gentle. Look at these beauties. Lots of nice worms in here. Now, just like when you're planting other plants from the nursery, you do not want to plant them lower in the soil than they were in their pot. So you can see here, this is where it was in the pot. You can see that that's the stuff that it was with it in the pot. So I've just kind of tapped it down in there, and I'm gonna go ahead and put the fabric back. So you can see my plant is centered in the whole of the fabric. So it will have room to send up new shoots, and they will send up new shoots. So it's important that it has room. Now I can go ahead and add the wool back. And now the only thing I have left to do is water this in. And that's it. That's as simple as it is to put a Haskap in the ground. Do you need fabric barrier for the weeds? Nope. Do you need wool? No. Are these things helpful? Yeah, sure. But they're things I already had and things that work well for us. You can put these guys in the ground and mulch them really, really well with straw or whatever else, and it'll work just the same. Leaves work really great too. So don't feel intimidated that you have to do it the same way I did, just because that's what I have. I do want to point out a quick difference. This is the Haskap that we just put in the ground. Do you notice the difference in the leaves? So look how green and small and young they are. And this is a different cultivar. But this is the same one, berry blue. So this Haskap is about 3 years old. And you can see the difference in the leaves. Now you can see here there's some new shoots. But even still, these ones are a lot sturdier from being in the ground and having their roots able to spread compared to the one down there. And you can even see from here the difference in the foliage. Another kitty that belongs in the garden with me. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. I will do my best to answer them for you. We absolutely love Haskaps because they are so easy to grow, and especially in a cold climate here like Ontario, Canada, they're a perfect thing for you to be able to grow, to produce your own food, and in a relatively short period of time. These guys will produce food in 2 to 3 years from planting, so you really do not need to wait a whole lot of time. If you're buying like I just did from a pot in the nursery, that one will produce fruit next year. I have some in this garden that I planted last year from bare root. So they were very small, they were bare root, not very large, and they are already putting off some flowers. They will not give us a whole lot of fruit this year, but next year they will be laden. Many of these ones that you see back here are 2 and 3 year old plants. They're not very tall yet, but they are piles of flowers in them, which means that we should have a really great Haskap crop this year. Stay tuned, there will be more Haskap videos as the season progresses, and I'll show you all the different stages of the Haskaps. Thanks for hanging out with us on the farm. We'll see you next time.